Take her badge. She's fired. Bianca ordered across the flooded penthouse as water streamed from Mara's hair. Mara lost her job before anyone checked the safe. But she sealed one wet access ledger in a clear evidence sleeve and asked security to sign for it. Every registered master key was still locked downstairs. Luca's pen stopped over the custody form. Then who opened this room from the inside? Mara did not answer Luca's question with a name. She looked at the custody form beneath his pen and said, "Sign first, or no one touches the ledger." Security Chief Adrian Cole shifted beside her. One hand extended toward the clear sleeve. Mara's charcoal dress clung to her full, curvy frame, but she did not fold in on herself or hide behind the table. She stood tall. Bianca's order still hung over the room. Take her badge. She's fired. Mara kept her eyes on Luca. If this record changes hands without a signature, every trustee here can call it contaminated by midnight. Luca glanced at the wall. Safe. Then, at the sleeve in her hand, Cole signs. You keep custody. The decision stopped her removal, but it did not restore her badge. Cole signed. Mara wrote the time beside his name. 8:49. M. Bianca stepped around a fallen champagne stand. Her cream gown dark at the hem. Her gaze dragged over Mara's wet figure with open contempt. She has always taken up too much space in rooms that do not belong to her. Now, she knocks over half a penthouse and calls it procedure. Mara did not blink. The sprinklers flooded the room. Not my hips. Mara sealed the signed form in a second sleeve. And if you break the procedure protecting this scene, you can explain that to the insurer. Two trustees near the window lowered their phones. Luca looked at the brass panel beside the safe. Its green light was dark, but the emergency indicator blinked every 5 seconds. Mara pointed without touching it. That panel logged an internal authorization, not forced entry. Not a master key. Bianca gave a short laugh. You expect us to believe a locked room opened itself? No. Mara said, I expect the system to tell us who asked it to. Cole reached for Mara's badge on the marble table. I need her access. Disabled. It already is. Mara said, the reader rejected me after the sprinkler alarm. If her credential had died before the safe opened. Bianca's story had already cracked. Luca picked up the badge, studied the red stripe across the back, and placed it beside the custody form. Show me. Mara crossed to the service console, careful around broken glass. She entered no private code. She pressed only the public incident screen. The last 12 events appeared without names. My badge failed at 8:41. The safe opened at 8:43. The sprinkler reset at 8:45. She faced them. Someone wanted the water to blur the order. Mara had insisted on that after an insurer blamed a housekeeper for a maintenance error. Tonight, the safeguard was the only reason accusation had not become fact. Bianca moved toward the console. Turn that off. Family records are not staff business. Mara placed one palm against the metal frame. The moment a hotel system touched this incident, it became operational evidence. Bianca looked to Luca. You are letting a dismissed manager hold this family hostage with technical tricks. Luca's voice stayed low. She used 3 times and 1 failed badge. That is not a trick. He faced Mara. What do you need? Mara did not thank him for finally asking. A clean path to the key room. 2 witnesses. No family credential used on the way. And the penthouse sealed behind us. Cole argued that the safe had to be searched. Mara shook her head. Search it now, and you prove only that someone can rearrange a wet room. Luca ordered every guest held for a search. Mara turned to him. That is broader than the verified risk. His eyes narrowed. A document is missing. Seal the room. Preserve exits. Do not turn every guest into a suspect, because your family hates being questioned. Rain struck the windows. Luca held her gaze. Then changed the order. Cole. Log names and secure the doors. No searches without consent or documented cause. Mara had not softened his power. She had forced it into proportion. He removed his jacket and held it out without stepping closer. You're soaked. Mara looked at the jacket. Then, at him. Ask. A beat passed. Will you take it? She accepted and put it over her shoulders herself. They left the penthouse at 8:56. Mara carried the ledger. Cole carried the custody form. Luca walked half a pace behind. On the security level. The master key cabinet stood behind wired glass. Mara halted before it. The tamper strip was unbroken. Its serial matched the morning log she had signed. Every brass key hung in place. But one square on the digital panel glowed amber instead of green. Cole let out a slow breath. Then, none of the registered keys opened the safe. Mara leaned toward the cabinet window. Her reflection looked broad, wet, and steady. Not a key. An emergency credential. Cole pulled the history onto the monitor. The identifier appeared in plain text. Luca read it once. Then again. The credential belonged to his brother. Dead for 3 years. Luca did not ask whether the system was wrong. He asked, who renewed it? Mara noticed the difference. Cole opened the credential record. But the renewal field showed only a trustee approval code and a date 6 weeks earlier. Bianca arrived with 2 trustees and the hotel attorney. This proves nothing. My husband's credential remained active for memorial access. Mara kept the ledger beneath Luca's jacket. Memorial access does not open a private safe. She pointed to the permission column. Someone expanded it to internal emergency authorization. Cole began to scroll. Mara stopped him. Export first. Read-only copy. Receipt. 2 witnesses. He looked at Luca. Luca said, do it her way. 6 monitors covered the security room wall, and a steel table divided staff from family. Mara stayed on the staff side by choice. Cole generated the copy while the attorney watched. Mara recorded the export time and asked him to initial it. Bianca refused. I will not validate this theater. Then your refusal goes in the notes. Mara said. Trustee Joseph Crane signed instead. The printer produced 2 pages. The dead credentials access level had changed at 6:12 that morning. The approval path ended with a code assigned to the Belandi family office. Not hotel security. Luca read, without touching the pages. My office. A family office credential. Mara corrected. Not proof of who used it. She kept the line clean. A powerful surname was not evidence. Bianca seized the distinction. Anyone with administrative knowledge could create that trail, including her. The attorney looked uneasy. Miss Ellis designed the protocol. She knows the logs. Mara nodded. Which means I know what your accusation requires. She placed her disabled badge on the table. I would need active family office authority, a secured console, and time to change the safe permissions. My badge died at 8:38. I was in the ballroom from 7:50 until the alarm. 400 guests saw me. Bianca said people could leave ballrooms. Mara met her eyes. Then bring the staffing roster and the camera index. Do not replace a timeline with an insult. Luca ordered Cole to retrieve both. Mara did. Call the independent locksmith now. By morning. Every side will claim the clock was changed. Bianca stepped toward the ledger. That belongs to the family. Luca placed one hand on the table between them. He touched neither woman nor the evidence. It belongs in custody. Bianca stared at him. You are choosing an employee over your brother's name. I am choosing a record over an accusation. He suspended all family overrides until verification. Then he asked Mara, can that lock trap anyone upstairs? No. Guest exits remain open. Only internal privilege changes. Proceed. For the first time that night, he used her expertise before his authority. The shift was small. Mara did not mistake it for trust. The locksmith promised to arrive within 30 minutes. Mara removed Luca's jacket and folded it over a chair. The room had warmed, and she did not want comfort mistaken for allegiance. Luca moved to the far side of the table, giving her space. You said the safe opened from inside the secured zone. How can a dead credential do that? Mara indicated the location field. It was used at a wall panel in the private corridor, not at the penthouse entrance. Whoever used it was already beyond the guest doors. The attorney frowned. Only family, security, and event staff had access tonight. Correct, Mara said. That makes the vendor escort list more useful than anyone's opinion of me. The staffing roster arrived first. Mara traced the sequence above the paper until Cole logged it. Her name remained at the ballroom command position, confirmed by radio checks every 7 minutes. That cleared her from the private corridor. But one event escort credential had entered the service elevator at 839 and never registered an exit. It belonged to Daniel Price, a junior security officer on his first Gala assignment. Cole turned toward the door. Price is upstairs. Mara stopped him. Do not confront him in front of the family. Secure his badge. Separate him from the accusation. Ask where he was assigned. Luca studied her. You think he was used? I think the record is incomplete. At nowa shap desprezeche. Daniel entered pale and breathing too fast. He placed his badge on the table. I never went to the penthouse. Mrs. Belandi sent me to the loading dock for a missing florist. Bianca's voice sharpened. Young man. Be careful. Mara looked at Daniel. Who held your badge outside? No one. I had it. Cole scanned the card. The system showed it opening the private service elevator, while Daniel's radio placed him 3 floors below. The badge had not been stolen. Someone had copied its signal through a privileged console. Cole opened the dead credential's renewal history and froze. The approval had come from a dormant terminal in the family archive room. One Mara had ordered disconnected 8 months earlier. Mara looked at the terminal ID again before she spoke. That machine should not be on the network. Daniel's fear turned to confusion. Cole pulled up the archive room map. The terminal sat behind a locked records door 2 floors below the ballroom. Mara had filed 3 orders to remove it after the system upgrade. Each order had been closed by family office review. No technician's name. No reason. Just a family code and a final stamp. Someone kept it alive. She said, not all day. Just long enough to renew the dead credential and copy Daniel's badge. Bianca folded her arms. or you left yourself a hidden door. Mara turned the maintenance history toward the room. Then explain why my removal orders were cancelled by your side of the building. Luca read all three. His face did not move, but the attorney beside him stopped tapping his pen. Mara saw the shift. The room had entered the part of the night where privilege could no longer hide behind confusion. Every cancelled order now looked deliberate. Luca cleared the room, except Mara. Danielle, Cole, the attorney, and 2 witnesses. Bianca refused to move until Luca said, "You are no longer directing this incident." She left slowly, but not before looking at Mara, as if rank alone could still push her out. Once the door closed, Luca asked who in the family office could cancel a shutdown order. Mara named the roles. Not the people. Executive trustee, legal administrator, family archivist, chairman. His eyes shifted toward the attorney. And my office, Mara answered. Your authority could do it. That does not prove you did. Luca did not tell her who still had private access to his brother's records. The silence told her enough. Someone in that room already feared the answer more than the accusation. Cole sent 2 officers to secure the archive room. Mara stopped them at the door. Body cameras on. Photograph everything before you touch it. Door. Dust. Cable. Chair. Then wait for the locksmith. Cole repeated the order. Daniel stared at his badge on the table. Am I fired? Mara answered before Luca could. Not before facts. Luca looked at Daniel. You are suspended with pay until this is resolved. Daniel's shoulders dropped by an inch. The family habit was to destroy a worker first and ask questions later. Tonight, Mara had forced a different order. She wrote Daniel's suspension status into the notes so no one could quietly change it after the witnesses left. At Noah dołączyć, she Noah. Her phone vibrated inside her wet dress pocket. The message came from Boston. Final travel confirmation. Hotel paid. Contract ready. Car at 6 the next morning. Luca saw only the city name on the lock screen. You were leaving. I was considering an offer made before tonight. For what role? Operations director. The title landed harder than praise, because it came from people who had never called her housekeeper. Mara silenced the phone. It does not affect this evidence. Luca's voice lowered. It affects whether you intend to be here tomorrow. She met his gaze. My future is not part of the custody chain. He accepted the boundary, but not the answer. For the first time, the possibility of losing her appeared more frightening to him than the loss inside the safe. Cole returned with the camera index. The official ballroom record kept Mara at the command podium through 846. Then another clip appeared. A woman in a dark dress pushed a service cart toward the archive door. At 8:35, her face was hidden. Bianca's story suddenly had a picture. The attorney leaned closer. That will spread. Mara's phone buzzed again. A former colleague had sent one line. Is that you? The clip was already online. Luca ordered the hotel team to pull it down. Mara said, No. Preserve it first. It is damaging you. Deleting it would damage me more. She made Cole save the source and record who exported it. Around the table, confidence changed shape. The people who had expected her to panic now watched her protect the very file being used against her. Luca asked, What is wrong with the video? Mara replayed it once, then froze the frame before the woman reached the door. Look at the light above her. It stayed dark. That light comes on before anyone reaches the lock. It did not. Cole checked the building record. The light had first activated at 9:04. Almost half an hour later, Mara did not give them a lecture. She gave them the conclusion. The woman is real. The time is false. Bianca's attorney went pale. One trustee stopped writing. Another looked toward the exit, as if he had just realized the trap had been built for more than Mara. No one called the clip a mistake anymore. Then an officer radioed from the archive floor. The dormant terminal was warm. A trustee access ring had been left beside the keyboard. Luca touched the black ring on his right hand, then stopped. The officer had found a trustee ring, not yet identified. Mara said, "Do not compare it from memory. Bag it where it sits. Photograph it first." Luca looked at his own ring. "Mine opens the archive room. Then yours enters custody too." Cole hesitated. Luca removed the ring and set it on the steel table. Mara slid a fresh evidence sleeve toward him. She did not take the ring from his fingers. He dropped it inside. She sealed the tape and said, "Initial across the edge." He did. The attorney watched as if Luca had surrendered a weapon. Trust did not arrive as a speech. It arrived when the most powerful man in the building let her rules apply to him. Samuel Pike, the independent locksmith, arrived at 9:42. Mara kept his task simple. Tell us whether the clocks agree. Tell us whether the locks were used. Do not tell us who you think did it. Pike checked the safe, the key cabinet, the corridor camera, and the archive terminal. The safe and key cabinet matched. The corridor video did not. It had been pushed back 29 minutes. The archive terminal had the correct time. Cole stared at the numbers. Mara watched the faces instead. The attorney's confidence drained first. Then one trustee looked toward the door Bianca had used. The realization moved through the room without a word. Someone had not made a mistake. Someone had built a lie and expected Mara to drown inside it. Pike printed the 3 clock results and signed them. Mara placed the page behind the ledger. Not beside it. Authentication supported the proof. It did not replace it. Mara made Pike say that aloud, and the attorney had to write it down in full. Before every witness, Pike checked when the terminal had been turned on. It started at 5:58 that morning. 16 minutes later, the dead credential gained safe access. The machine shut down at 6:19. It came alive again at 8:27. 12 minutes before Daniel's badge appeared at the private elevator. One machine had supported both moves. Pike pointed to the power switch. Someone had to be in this room. Mara studied the dust on the floor. One clean arc marked where the chair had moved. Twice, she said. Morning and tonight. Luca asked who could reach the archive room without crossing the guest cameras. Trustees, archive staff, security command, anyone escorted through the foundation office. The list was short enough to frighten people who had felt safe behind titles. Luca finally gave her the fact he had withheld. His late brother's widow still held archive privileges under the estate settlement. Family office had renewed those privileges every quarter, without hotel review. Mara did not react to the name. She reacted to the failure. Why was she outside the audit? Luca answered, without defense. Because I allowed family records to remain exempt. That exemption created the path. Mara wrote the statement into the incident notes and passed him the page. Sign it. The attorney objected. Luca signed anyway. Across the room, the trustee who had defended Bianca stopped meeting Mara's eyes. That is accountability. Mara said, it is not proof of who used the terminal. I know, Luca answered. His voice had changed. Less chairman. More warning. Cole brought in the sealed ring from the archive room. The Belandi crest was intact, but the serial number inside had been filed down. Pike scanned it. The chip belonged to a retired trustee token that should have been destroyed after Luca's brother died. It had been paired with the dormant terminal that morning. Mara kept the evidence chain clean. The ring supports the ledger. It does not replace it. The safe event remained the main proof. The ring explained how someone with family privilege reached it. Luca's eyes hardened, but he did not rush ahead of her conclusion. Near the wall, the attorney loosened his collar. One trustee quietly moved his phone face down. At Zechetre. Mara's phone filled with messages. The altered corridor clip had reached 2 hotel executives, a local gossip account, and Boston's legal department. The new subject line read, "Offer under review, pending clarification." Luca saw it. "I can call them." Mara locked the screen. "No, your call makes me look protected." "Not cleared." "Then tell me what helps." "A clean timeline. A preserved source file. No private favors." She returned to the clip and caught one bright line in the cart's chrome edge. The archive door was already open in the reflection. The footage had been recorded after the breach, then moved backward on the clock. She marked the frame and called Pike over. Before he could confirm it, every monitor went black. Emergency lights snapped on. A voice came over the building speakers. The trustee vote had been moved to 1030. The emergency lights flattened every face in the security room. Mara did not reach for the dead monitors. "No one reboots anything," she said. "Cole. Note the outage time. Pike. Isolate your reader. Luca." The vote moved because someone wants this room choosing under pressure. The announcement repeated through the ceiling speakers. "Trustees to the Grand Salon at 1030. That gave them 27 minutes. Cole checked the panel beside the door. Only the security floor had lost network power. Guest elevators, fire systems, and the ballroom remained live. Someone had cut the one segment holding the archive terminal, the source video, and the original access log. Luca's voice dropped. "What remains intact?" Mara lifted the clear sleeve. "The incident copy, the custody form, Pike's clock results. What may be gone is the signed original." Pike disconnected his equipment and placed it on the steel table. "My readings are stored locally." Mara made him say it again while she recorded on her phone. Then Cole's radio cracked with a new report. A wet envelope had been found inside Mara's locker. Bianca was already outside the locker corridor, demanding it be opened before the trustees. Mara's expression did not change. "My locker was sealed when my badge died." Cole confirmed it, then photographed the seal before anyone touches the handle. Luca watched her closely. He had seen men lose judgment over smaller threats. Mara only adjusted the evidence sleeve against her body and moved. They reached the locker corridor at 1010. Bianca stood with the hotel attorney, 2 trustees, and a maintenance supervisor. Water slipped from beneath Mara's locker door. Bianca pointed at it. "There is your missing covenant." Luca looked at Mara. "Not the locker. Your cull." Mara crouched without touching the metal. The tamper label carried the correct serial, but one corner held a crescent of lint. This seal was lifted and pressed back down. Bianca's mouth tightened. "Convenient." Mara pointed at the floor. "The corridor is dry. The water started inside the locker. Someone wanted the penthouse flood to follow me here. Pike signed, as the independent witness. Cole opened the locker, while Mara stood 3 feet away, with both hands visible. Inside sat a cream envelope, soaked along one edge, stamped with the Belandi crest. Through the paper, dark letters showed the title South Harbor Covenant. The document protected Belandi control of the waterfront territory and the offshore routes tied to it. Without it, the trustees could approve a transfer to the Caruso family before midnight. Bianca turned toward the others. She stole it to stop the vote. Mara did not argue motive. Bag the envelope where it lies. Do not pull out the pages. The attorney asked why. Because the water may be newer than the paper. Separate them now, and you destroy the lie's shape. Cole sealed the locker item. Mara dictated the condition. Position. And time. Then she asked for the locker record. The override had opened at 9:54. More than an hour after her access died. The code belonged to family operations. Luca's gaze settled on Bianca. Who held that authority tonight? Half this building. She replied. Mara stood. Then produced the list. We do not need half the building. We need the person active at 954. Bianca stepped toward the evidence bag. That covenant belongs to the family. Luca moved between her and the table, touching neither her nor the proof. The family does not own the truth. The attorney warned that the trustees could still vote if the covenant's authenticity remained disputed. Luca asked Mara what would stop them. A clean chain from the dead credential to the secure zone. And proof this envelope entered my locker after my badge was disabled. Can you establish both by 1-0-3-0? Not while someone else controls the clock. Mara gave him the choice without softening it. Delay the vote under the breach clause, or let Bianca hand Belandi territory to a rival family while the evidence is under attack. The words changed the air. No one moved. This was no hotel dispute. If the covenant vanished, the Carusos would inherit roots, leverage, and access that could break the Belandi syndicate from the inside. Luca looked at the trustees gathering down the hall. Seal the Grand Salon until 11. No transfer vote until the breach review is heard. Bianca's face hardened. You cannot freeze family business for a manager who was leaving by morning. I can freeze any vote built on stolen access. Luca turned to Cole. Make it formal. Cole transmitted the order. Bianca raised her phone before the message finished. Then you should know the original ledger server just issued a deletion alert. On her screen, a 12-minute countdown had already begun. Cole reached for Bianca's phone. Mara stopped him. Do not take it. Ask where the alert came from. Bianca held the screen toward Luca. The message carried the hotel's real warning format. Emergency access ledger purge initiated. Completion in 12 minutes. Mara read it once. The alert is genuine. The countdown turned suspicion into a verified attack. Luca asked. Options. The incident copy keeps the event sequence. The original carries the hotel signature. If the purge finishes, Bianca will call my copy. Manufactured. Mara looked at Cole. The original server is in the engineering cage. Who can reach it during this outage? Security. Engineering. Family emergency access. Then suspend family override now. Leave fire exits and guest safety untouched. Luca made the call. Mara forced the scope into the record. Say it clearly. Family credentials suspended. Life safety systems exempt. No occupied door locked. every manual entry witnessed. He repeated each condition. Bianca said he had no right to strip trustee access. Luca's voice stayed cold. I have the right to stop someone erasing evidence tied to Belandi territory. He looked at Mara. Do you want to go to the server? Transfer your copy to Pike. Or walk out now. The choice was real. Boston still waited. Her reputation might still survive if she left before the family war swallowed her. Mara tightened her hand around the sleeve. Ego. Pike carries the copy beside me. Cole clears the route. They moved through the service corridor. Public elevators had been reserved for the rushed vote. Water from the penthouse had reached one stair landing. A cracked wall panel hung loose above the tile. Luca stepped forward to open the next door. The glass shifted. Mara caught his wrist and pulled him back. A pain dropped where his hand had been. She released him at once. That was reflex. She said, "Do not mistake it for permission." His eyes met hers. He let her choose the safer path around the debris. No hand returned to her waist. No order touched the moment. The danger passed. And so did the contact. The engineering cage lock had gone dead. Its manual cylinder rejected the hotel master key because emergency mode had engaged before the suspension. Pike checked the lock against his clock. Cole brought the engineering supervisor. Mara asked for the paper entry log. One manual entry appeared at 1001. The signature was a dark slash. No one signs a live server entry like that. Mara held the page toward the light. The pressure mark on the sheet below carried the full surname. Belandi. No one spoke. Not a first name. Not enough for guilt. Enough to prove someone had tried to hide family access. Cole cut the cage seal under camera. They entered at 1024, with 6 minutes left. The server screen showed the deletion command. A second credential was still required. Mara stayed away from the keyboard. Whoever started this expected an accomplice or a frightened employee to finish it. Luca asked whether canceling would change the record. Pike said yes, but only by adding a visible cancellation event. Mara put the hotel attorney on speaker and demanded witnessed authorization. Once, counsel agreed. Pike entered his independent service code. Mara read the transaction number aloud. The countdown stopped at 2 minutes. 14 seconds. The original ledger remained. Its signature matched the copy in Mara's sleeve. Pike printed the verification certificate. Cole added the server event. The manual entry log. And Luca's override suspension to the custody chain. Mara held the line. The certificate proves the ledger is real. The other records show how badly someone wanted it destroyed. Luca asked, "Can you present this to the trustees?" "Yes, but not as your employee under accusation." He understood. Before they left the cage, he dictated a written withdrawal of the theft charge, full correction of Mara's personnel record, and paid suspension until independent review ended. Mara struck one phrase. "Do not restore my access yet. They will say I touched the system." Luca changed it without argument. At 10:30, Shiunu. The grand salon doors opened, despite his delay order. Bianca still held enough trustee authority to force a procedural vote. Cole's radio reported that she was calling the ledger a private fabrication and the server rescue an act of sabotage. More dangerous. She had recast the South Harbor transfer as the only way to avoid war with the Carusos. Pike handed Mara the signed certificate. Luca said, "I can shut down the room." Mara placed the certificate behind the ledger. "No, you can make them hear me." From beyond the doors came the strike of a gavel. The vote to hand Belandi territory to a rival family had begun with 90 minutes left before midnight. The first vote was procedural, not final. But the gavel made the corridor feel smaller. Luca reached for the salon door. Mara stopped him. Not yet. She handed Pike's certificate to the hotel attorney and told him to file it before anyone argued over it. Cole transmitted the entry number through the house line. Inside, Bianca demanded a ruling that the emergency access ledger was inadmissible because Mara had designed the protocol that created it. Mara listened through the door. Good. Let her say it on the record. Luca looked at her. You want her trapped by her own claim. I want every accusation tied to a fact we can answer. The South Harbor Covenant sat sealed in custody. The ledger remained intact. The transfer vote had started. But Bianca had not yet taken the Belandi roots from them. Mara's phone vibrated again. Boston's legal department had replaced its warning with a final deadline. Written clearance by 1/115. Or the offer would be withdrawn. A car was booked for 6 in the morning. The relocation deposit had cleared. The contract waited for her signature, beneath a title with its own budget, its own housing allowance, and no Belandi name anywhere on the page. Luca read none of it. What do you need from me to leave clean? Mara answered at once. A written withdrawal of the theft allegation. A personnel file with no misconduct finding. Every dollar owed. No silence clause tied to tonight. No condition that keeps me available to this family. Luca called the attorney into the corridor and dictated each term. He added that the hotel would pay for counsel of Mara's choice to review the release. Mara changed it. Fixed reimbursement. Payable whether I stay or leave. You do not choose my lawyer. And you do not buy my gratitude. Luca accepted the correction. At 14:46. He signed the clearance letter, the personnel amendment, and the unconditional release. Cole witnessed all three. Mara photographed the pages and sent them to Boston. The reply came in under a minute. Offer active. Travel confirmed. Her exit was no longer a possibility. It was a real road out. Waiting at dawn. It needed no favor from Luca. No Belandi reference. And no promise that she would forgive what happened in the penthouse. Luca handed her the originals. You can go now. The words cost him more than the signature. Mara slipped the papers into a dry folder. Yes. Through the glass. She saw Daniel seated under suspension. Housekeeping supervisors waited along the wall. 2 old dock captains had been brought in because the South Harbor Covenant affected routes their crews had guarded for decades. If Bianca pushed the transfer through, the Carusos would not simply gain paper, they would gain names, schedules, and leverage over every Belandi movement tied to the harbor. Pike could authenticate the ledger. Cole could guard the room. But no one else could explain why the access sequence proved the covenant had been stolen before the vote. I will not return as your employee, Mara said. I will stay 6 hours as an independent incident consultant. Evidence only. Presentation only. My rate is the Boston rate. Luca did not bargain. Agreed. The attorney wrote a 6-hour engagement ending at 4:50 a.m. With no automatic renewal. Mara added 3 clauses. She could stop if custody was breached. She controlled the order of technical presentation. Any instruction affecting her conclusion had to be written into the record. Luca signed first. She signed second. Only then did he ask. Why stay? Mara looked toward the salon. Because Daniel is being used as a shield. Because housekeeping will be blamed for the water and the missing covenant. Because men on that harbor will walk into a rival family's trap if this vote passes. She closed the folder. Not because you asked. A trustee opened the door. Bianca has moved to exclude Mara Ellis as a conflicted witness. Luca's expression went cold. But Mara raised one hand. Let her finish. Inside, Bianca argued that an employee seeking money from the hotel could not be neutral. Mara stepped into view long enough to give the clerk her release and new consulting agreement. For the record, I am no longer an employee, and my fee does not depend on the vote. The clerk accepted both documents. Bianca's argument collapsed before Mara presented one event. The trustees called a 10-minute recess. In the service anteroom, Luca asked whether Mara wanted coffee, dry clothes, or a car to Boston. Coffee. Black. The rest is handled. He brought it himself, set it beside her papers, and kept his distance. Mara ordered the ledger, Pike's certificate, the sealed key record, the staffing timeline, and the covenant custody log into one clear chain. Then the clerk returned. Pal. They are voting on whether she gets to speak. Mara entered the preparation room as the clerk hurried back toward the salon. Then give them no reason to call this a rescue. Luca wanted to challenge the vote himself. Mara refused. Your power opens the door. It does not carry my argument. She assigned him one task. Keep every department head, harbor witness, housekeeping representative, and security officer already summoned inside the room. Cole would control entry. The attorney would mark each exhibit. Pike would answer only whether the ledger was genuine. Mara alone would explain what it meant. She rolled her shoulders back. Her broad, curvy frame filled the narrow doorway without apology. Wet fabric still clung to her charcoal dress. But she stood tall. As if the room had been built to hold her, she rebuilt the presentation around one contradiction, simple enough to survive fear. Atopt patruzeci și trei. The penthouse safe opened through an internal emergency credential. At that same moment, every registered master key remained sealed downstairs. Mara's disabled badge placed her in the ballroom. The dead credential tied the impossible event to family privilege. The wet covenant in her locker, the false corridor clip, and the attempted server purge came later. They were attacks on the ledger, not separate mysteries. One proof, she told the attorney. Everything else shows why someone feared it. He reordered the exhibits to match her logic and numbered every page. Luca returned with the vote count. 4 trustees wanted Mara excluded. 4 wanted her heard. 1 abstained. Bianca was demanding that Luca break the tie. If I vote for you, she will say, you speak because I protected you. He said. Mara capped her pen. Then do not vote for me. Vote for the rule. Belandi bylaws required any authenticated operational record affecting territorial control to be heard before a transfer vote. Luca invoked that clause. Not Mara's credibility. The doors opened. Bianca laughed from the head of the table. Of course, she found a way to make herself the largest thing in the room. Mara walked past her without slowing. No, Bianca. The evidence did. Before Mara stepped into the salon, Luca noticed the shallow cut near her temple. He raised one hand, then stopped. May I? Mara looked at the distance he had kept. The signed release in her folder, and the hearing waiting beyond the door. Not yet. His hand dropped at once. No frustration. No argument. Understood. He opened the door and moved aside. Mara entered first. The grand salon had been arranged for a transfer vote, not an investigation. Trustees sat behind polished wood. Department heads lined the back wall. Housekeeping staff and 2 harbor men stood near the service entrance because no one had offered them chairs. Mara changed that before she touched the lectern. Those people are named in this breach. They sit. Bianca objected. They are employees and dock hands. They have no place in family business. Mara turned to her. They are the people your vote would put in danger. Luca spoke from behind the trustee line. Bring the chairs. Mara waited until the last person sat. Only then did she place the evidence sleeve beneath the document camera. Bianca Rose. This consultant built the system, held the copy, and now asks us to trust her interpretation. Her eyes swept over Mara's body. She has always been heavy-handed. Tonight, she became heavy enough to crush a transfer the family needs. Mara did not shrink. She rested both palms on the lectern and looked directly at the trustees. You do not have to trust my body, my tone, or my opinion. Trust the sealed keys. Trust the failed badge. Trust the event. At 8:43, the insult died because she gave it no room to breathe. Pike confirmed the ledger was real. Cole confirmed. The key cabinet remained sealed. The clerk read each custody number aloud. Mara made the chain sound simple. That simplicity frightened the people who had counted on confusion. During the final procedural pause, Luca approached, but stopped an arm's length away. Your release is filed. Boston is still yours. Nothing in that room changes either. Mara saw the signed papers through the folder. He had removed the leverage before asking for trust. This time, she reached out and took his hand for one quiet second. No, she said. The touch was hers. She released him before the clerk called her name. Atuns prezecedoi. Mara walked to the lectern. Luca took a seat among the trustees. Not beside her. Bianca demanded the South Harbor transfer proceed first. Claiming delay would provoke the Carusos. Mara placed the emergency access ledger under the camera. The first event appeared on the salon screen. Before she could read the time, Bianca struck the gavel and called the transfer vote. 3 hands rose. A 4th began to lift. The 4th trustee's hand stopped halfway up when Mara said, "Before you vote, confirm what you are voting past." She enlarged the first line of the emergency access ledger until 8:43 p.m. filled the screen. At that moment, the penthouse safe accepted an internal emergency credential. Every registered master key was sealed downstairs. My badge was already dead. 400 guests placed me in the ballroom. She turned to Pike. Did you verify the safe clock and the key cabinet? Yes. Did they match? Within 2 seconds. Mara faced the table. Then the safe opened through family privilege, while the hotel keys never moved. Vote if you choose. But know that someone stole the South Harbor Covenant before trying to bury the record. The 4th hand lowered. Bianca Rose. She says, dead credential because it frightens people. My husband's access remained active under the estate agreement. Mara brought up the 612 entry. Memorial access remained active. Safe authority did not. It was added this morning from the archive terminal. She showed the startup record. That machine came on at 5:58, 16 minutes later. The dead credential gained internal access. It shut down at 6:19. It came alive again at 8:27, 12 minutes later. Daniel Price's badge appeared at the private elevator. Daniel sat straighter. Mara displayed the radio checks, placing him 3 floors below. His badge was copied. He was never in that corridor. One trustee asked whether the ledger named the person at the terminal. No, Mara said. The ledger proves the breach. The supporting records show who had the path. She displayed the family office approval code, then asked Luca to read his signed statement. I exempted family archive credentials from hotel audit. Mara held his gaze. Did that keep my team from disabling your dead brother's credential? Yes. Did blood outrank control? Luca answered. Yes, the workers heard it. So did the harbor men. Mara turned back to the trustees. That failure opened the door. The person who used it still needed the terminal, the retired token, and the vote deadline. Bianca pointed toward the sealed envelope. The covenant was found in her locker. Mara placed the 954 locker event beside her disabled badge. My access died more than an hour earlier. The locker opened under family operations. She showed the lifted seal and the dry corridor. The water began inside the locker. The envelope was planted to make the penthouse flood follow me. Bianca demanded the pages be removed. Not until an independent conservator examines them. Mara said, pull them now, and you destroy the condition that dates the planting. A housekeeping supervisor nodded. Mara had taught her the same rule for guest property. The work, no one noticed, had kept the evidence alive. Mara froze the corridor clip on the woman in charcoal. She enlarged the chrome edge of the service cart. The archive door was already open in the reflection. This was recorded after the breach and moved backward on the clock. The motion light did not activate until 9:04. The clip left a foundation account at 9:18. 3 minutes later, it reached the first gossip post. The account belonged to Bianca's social office. Mara continued before outrage became noise. The same office reviewed the dormant terminal inventory 6 weeks ago. Your estate privilege renewed your husband's credential. Your office released the false clip. Your authority opened my locker. The attorney entered the retired trustee ring into the record. Its serial had been filed away, but the chip had paired with the dormant terminal that morning. Under the estate agreement, one active beneficiary retained custody of those retired tokens. The clerk read the name, Bianca Belandi. Mara did not look pleased. She looked finished. The ledger proves how the safe opened. Authentication proves it is real. The copied badge, altered clip, planted covenant, and retired token all sit under the same access authority. She faced the trustees. If you hand South Harbor to the Carusos after this, you are not avoiding a war. You are letting betrayal choose the battlefield. Bianca lunged for the evidence sleeve. Cole moved first, but Luca's voice stopped everyone. Lock the room. The salon doors closed. Belandi guards stepped from the walls. Hands empty and faces hard. Luca rose slowly. The chairman was gone. The boss remained. No calls. No messages to the Carusos. No one touches that ledger. His eyes settled on Bianca. You used my brother's name to open my house. You aimed my own people at a rival family. Reach for that proof again. And every title, account, root, and protection this family gave you ends before your next step. Bianca froze. Luca looked to Mara, not the guards. Are you finished presenting? Mara closed the ledger. Yes. Only then did he strip Bianca of command, freeze the transfer vote, and put every South Harbor access point under dual control. Atunci 11:40 și 1. The transfer died. Mara turned to him. You still owe this room the truth about what you did to me. Luca did not ask for privacy. He remained standing at the head of the table, while the guards held the doors and the workers watched. At 8:47 tonight, I allowed Mara Ellis's badge to be taken before the evidence was checked. I let blood speak louder than the woman who built the system protecting this house. He looked at Daniel, the housekeeping team, and the harbor men. That failure was mine. It made loyal people disposable and gave betrayal room to move. Then he faced Mara. I was wrong in public. I corrected in public. He ordered the theft charge erased, her personnel record cleared, and her Boston release honored without condition. No one uses her name, her job, or her future as payment for what she did tonight. Bianca's trustee vote ended immediately. Her family credentials, archive rights, foundation authority, and access to South Harbor records were revoked. Cole sealed her devices under counsel's supervision. 2 guards escorted her from the salon after the attorney confirmed the order in writing. Luca did not threaten her again. He did not need to. The room had heard the first warning. Before midnight, the South Harbor Covenant returned to protected custody. The Caruso transfer died. Every route covered by the Covenant moved to dual authorization until an independent review ended. Daniel returned to duty under a new supervisor. Housekeeping received written clearance before anyone went home. The men from the harbor left with new schedules and no order to walk into a rival family's trap. Luca then turned to the inner council. The exemption that let family blood bypass control is over. He removed his own access ring and placed it beside Mara's ledger. From tonight forward, no Bellandi credential stands above audit. Mine goes first. No one argued. He ordered a new authority charter, read aloud. The role was Chief Property Integrity Officer. It carried an independent budget, hiring power, access audit authority, and the right to stop any use of Bellandi properties, staff, or credentials that lacked a documented chain. Mara would report to an external committee. No family member, including Luca, could remove her alone. The power was real. It did not depend on affection. Mara read every clause before she answered. Section 6 lets the head of the family delay an outside review for 72 hours. Luca looked at the attorney. Strike it. Section 9 ties housing to employment. Remove it. Section 12 bars disclosure of family misconduct. Luca's voice turned flat. Rewrite it to protect lawful reporting. Mara closed the folder. I will not sign tonight because the room feels guilty. A few trustees shifted. Luca did not. How long? 48 hours. My own counsel. Boston stays open. Done. Her correct title entered the minutes before she accepted the job. The system changed before the romance began. 2 days later, Mara returned to the Grand Salon in a dry charcoal suit. Housekeeping representatives sat at the table. Daniel attended as security liaison. Her attorney confirmed the charter gave her real authority. Boston had left its offer open. She could still leave with more money and no Bellandi shadow. Mara signed only after the board approved an employee reporting channel that bypassed Luca and the family office. No one handed her a ceremonial key. Her first order was a full audit of every family credential. Luca placed his ring on the table before she asked, "Start with me?" Mara nodded. "I intended to." Their private conversation happened after work at a 24-hour diner. Mara chose 3 blocks away. Luca arrived alone. No guards. No driver waiting at the window. "I want you beside me," he said. "But I will not make staying the price of being safe." Mara opened a small notebook. Her job would not change if she refused him. Security could never become surveillance. He would not monitor her phone, home, travel, or friends. No property gifts. No hidden threats. No retaliation if she ended the relationship. Every date remained an invitation. "And when I say no," she asked. Luca met her eyes. "Then the answer is no." Mara closed the notebook. "Not yet means not yet. It does not mean convince me." "Understood." He did not reach across the table. They spoke for an hour about ordinary things. Food. Music. The hotel elevator that still hated winter. Outside. Dawn touched the street. Luca offered a car. Mara chose to walk. At the corner, she took his hand, drew him closer, and kissed him once. Then she stepped back. "Dinner Friday," she said. "Ask me Thursday." 3 months later, the audit had closed every family exemption. South Harbor remained under Belandi control. No worker report disappeared into a private office. Mara kept her own apartment, accounts, and the signed Boston contract as proof that staying had been a choice. At the next integrity review, her name stood at the top of the agenda. Luca took a seat. Mara ran the room. "Would you stay? After power was finally made real, or take the clean exit?"